peanut butter as a snack, which is a very good low-calorie snack. You can, believe it or not, eat it on celery. Oh, many of you may already know that, but some of you may not. I mean, I have many times gone to parties at people's houses. Now I'm going to cut the celery up a little smaller, just for fun, because I don't want it the same size as the Chinese cabbage. And the other nice thing about celery, which is interesting, is that it's a diuretic, so it tends to help reduce water in the system. And of course, that's a good thing, because you don't want to carry too much water around with you, except by drinking it, of course, but not in your tissues. It's not as healthy that way. Okay, that's beginning to look nice. Now let's stir this again. How are we doing here? Okay. So this is almost ready. And now I'm going to cut up some cabbage. Cabbage is one of my favorite vegetables, and I'm quite tempted to do an entire show on cabbage because I like it so much. I like coleslaw, and I like cabbage. Another way that I really like to cook cabbage, I don't know if any of you have tried this, is in beef broth, or chicken broth, I suppose. But I think beef broth is really good for cabbage. And cook it, you know, at a reasonable amount of time. Not so it's soggy. Cabbage is extraordinarily nutritious. I mean, people can practically live on it. They don't necessarily want to, but either raw, it's wonderful in coleslaw, and there are other kinds of slaw, you know, different kinds of cabbage slaw that you can make, other than just the plain old carrots and cabbage. I always add onion to mine. Now then, a little more chicken broth I think we want here. Good thing I brought a lot. Now, I'm going to put in some cabbage. Cabbage does not take very long to cook, but it tastes so good. There's a little crunch to it. It all cooks down. That's the other thing you always have to remember when you're making a stir fry. It will cook down there. And you want to be sure you use enough, whatever you're cooking, the vegetables. And as I said, you know, if you have leftovers, it's no problem, because then you make it into soup. A simple soup. What I call a simple soup. So it's a very good thing to serve a soup actually at the beginning of a meal, too. It's another way you can cut down on the amount of food you're liable to eat. There we are. It's looking very pretty. I don't know if you can see it, but the different color, the red and the green and the white, looks pretty good, huh? You can put things in any proportion in a stir fry, any proportion at all. And the other good thing about when you cook cabbage, some of the, you know, stemmy parts, you can cook them, and they're still very nutritious. But if you were making like a coleslaw or something, you might want to avoid them because they can be tough to chew. Not everybody has dental challenges, to be sure, but some do. So you have to be a little more careful with those people. And a little bit more here, and that should do it. Now then, let's check the spaghetti. Ha! One of the truisms is you throw it up on the ceiling, and if it sticks, it's al dente. Well, I don't think the studio would like it if the ceiling was covered with spaghetti, because I was testing it that way. My joke. So I'm going to turn this down now. Just let it cook a little more. Oh yes, I want to add some pepper. That's beginning to smell like it's done. That's another thing about, I can often tell how something is done by the way it smells. So once again, measure the way you want. I tend to be generous with herbs. I always laugh when I see a recipe that says put in a half a teaspoon of dried herbs. I mean, really, that seems very foolish to me. Tarragon is lovely with many things. Gives it a nice kind of piquant taste, sort of it perks it up. Tarragon perks it up. Okay. Now if I didn't think I had enough, I could add more, but I think I'm pretty good. And I'm also going to add some parsley to my pasta recipe, which is not in the original recipe. I should have mentioned, actually there are 4 things, but you can omit the parsley very easily and be perfectly happy with real results. Okay, let's test here and see. Perfect. Marvelous. Okay. Now, turn this off. We don't need it anymore. And we have something to put the water in. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do is put a little olive oil in, because that'll keep it from sticking together. And I'm using the regular, the tasting type olive oil here. And that's good. And then, okay, I'm going to turn this off because I think it's all cooked. There. I'm going to add a little bit more chicken broth. Okay. Put this over here. Don't need that anymore. And now we're going to add the smoked salmon. And what you want, this is 8 ounces. Normally it comes in like 4-ounce packages. This is a bigger package, but that's fine. Now we're going to use about 2 ounces of this. So let us because it has a strong taste, you see, you don't need as much. That's another thing to remember, is that when you have a strong taste of something, so we're going to take about 1/4 of this package, and then you'll see what we do. Here we go. Yep, it's about right. Now, okay, we're going to bring out the handy scissors again, because we're going to just flake this right in until it gets thoroughly mingled. The idea is to really mingle it. You want it in shreds, basically. We're talking about shredding it, essentially. So, cutting very small pieces here, as you can see. Now, of course, if you don't like smoked salmon, that's okay. You can put something else in. Or nothing. You know, it's pasta is very good all by itself. And with your vegetables, or you can even take your vegetables and your pasta and mingle them together. Many people will do that. So there's quite a variety of things you can do and ways to do it. That's the nice thing about cooking, you know. It's a very individual thing, and individual taste, how people prefer things. Let's put this back. There we go. Out of the way. And here we go. Oops, I might have missed one here. Don't want to lose any. I think I'll separate this a bit more. That's good. Now, so many people like smoked salmon on crackers, or you know, serve it with cream cheese, which personally would something I would never do because I'm not that fond of cream cheese, but that's okay. and I like it. I've had cream cheese and honey sandwiches. That's pretty good. And we're going to almost, my goodness, we're running down on time. Isn't that wonderful? How quickly you can make a meal and serve your family fresh food, nothing frozen, nothing pre-prepared, and all tasty and delicious. Now, we're mixing this up with the pasta, and then we're going to put the lemon in, and we've got our here. There's the pasta. Got a nice, oh, and be sure and roll your lemon before you cut it, and that way you get more juice out of it. Always, always one thing to do. There now. Now we're going to just take that lemon, maybe remove a seed or two, and we're going to go use our reamer, very useful reamer. And you have the lemon on the, and the smoked salmon and the pasta. And I'll have you know, some of you have seen my granddaughter, the one who lives in Italy most of the time, on the show. Well, this is her recipe, only now she's very grown up, 14-year-old. I think when you're 14 going on about 20. It's wonderful. I love it. And now we have a little parsley to add. Of course, I'm very fond of parsley. I like parsley in everything. One of the reasons is, and you probably have heard me say this too many times, how nutritious parsley is for you. It's one of the most healthy things you can put into your body. I consider it a vegetable because I use so much of it. And it adds to everything. I'm going to put some in my stir-fried vegetables too, as well. And it looks pretty. So, I mean, that's a win-win situation right there. Tastes good, looks good, good for you. What else can you ask for in a vegetable or an herb, as it were? And it's freely available, which is another nice thing I'm really appreciative of as well. Now, a little bit more, perhaps. Looks good, doesn't it? Oh my. I'm going to have a nice lunch.